Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, I'm going to do a wear test and a review on two of my favorite sunscreens. The first one is my Colorescience Flex and the second one is my Australian Gold Sunscreen. And in particular, I am interested in to see which one has a better resistant property. So I am going to be wearing the Flex version on my left hand side and my Australian Gold on my right hand side of my face. And I'm going to hit the gym. So I have reviewed my Colorescience matte sunscreen and the Flex version in a previous video in details. I love them both. In particular, I love the matte version a little bit more just because I have really oily skin. So the matte version works best for me. However, I do enjoy using the Flex version just because the formula is white, but when I massage the formula onto my skin, it turns into a tinted color and it kind of blurs out my imperfection just like the matte version does. It is just a little bit more oily than my matte version, but I can wear this, it doesn't bother me. The Flex version comes in 4 different shades: fair, medium, tan, and deep. I have here in a medium color.
Out of all the things to say to you, you're my girl and you should know that I love you more than anything, and I'll never let you go. 1,000 years could never change the way I feel about our love.
Now this version is SPF 50 and it is water and sweat resistance for 40 minutes. I'm just going to apply one more layer here.
In this moment, oh no, 'cause I will always love you.
This formula is very moisturizing, it doesn't irritate my eyes, and it is very blendable.
From beginning till the end, and if I had the chance, I would.
Moving on to my Australian Gold Sunscreen. This one is also SPF 50. It also has zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. It comes in 3 different shades. I have here in the shade medium. This is how the Australian Gold Sunscreen looks like. It is a little bit more orangey and it looks a little bit more thick than my Colorescience sunscreen. But the finish is very pretty. It is very moisturizing as well, and it does not irritate my eyes. It blends into my skin really well, and also every time I reapply it, it blends into the previous sunscreen seamlessly. It looks thicker in texture, but it doesn't feel thick when I apply it on my face. So I'm just going to apply one more layer just to see if it's gonna get a little bit more oily, because right now it looks like my Colorescience is a little bit more oily than the Australian Gold Sunscreen. I'm applying 2 layers just because I'm going to be wearing my mask when I go to the gym. I don't want all of these sunscreens to transfer onto my mask. So the tone of my Australian Gold Sunscreen is so similar to my Colorescience. The texture is so similar. The smoothness of the sunscreen is very similar to each other. The finish of the sunscreen is more like my matte Colorescience sunscreen because the matte version is a little bit less oily than the Flex version here. Now I'm just going to apply a little bit of my Up and Up lip balm. This one has SPF 50. Now I am ready for the gym. So this is how the sunscreens look like on my face. The left side is the Flex version. It is a little bit more dewier than the right side. This is the Australian Gold. But honestly, in terms of textures and tones, they look exactly the same. And they feel the same on my skin.
Honey, do you remember when we used to laugh and love? Say we last forever before the cruel heavens above. So to take you away, 'cause 'cause I ain't the same without your taste, your loving touch. We've been making our way out through suburban avenues.
Sunscreen still look really good on my face. So let's take a closer look at my skin. This is the Colorescience Flex. And again, the Australian Gold. I feel like on this side, the product kind of bunched up and more of the product kind of melted away. More so than on my right side where my Australian Gold Sunscreen, especially on my forehead area here, it seemed to withstand the sweats and my skin looks flawless in this area. It looks like the sunscreen is still on my skin. There isn't any product that kind of bunch up like on my forehead on this side here of the Flex Sunscreen. And I also feel like the right side of my face still had more sunscreen on because it looks more smoother versus the left side here is a little bit patchy. Concerned that I was at one point wearing a mask running, so a lot of the product also got into my mask, but this side is still more patchy than this side here. So all in all, the Australian Gold Sunscreen is awesome for its water resistant properties because I feel like the right side of my face looks so much better than the left side of my face with the Colorescience Sunscreen. I have reviewed both of these sunscreens in depth in a different video, but now that I'm wearing these two side by side, I feel like I really like this sunscreen. It is absolutely a dupe for this sunscreen in terms of the texture of the sunscreen, the color, the tone, and also it's a lot better in terms of the water resistant property because my skin on the right side looks absolutely a lot better than my skin on the left hand side. Since these two sunscreens are the same, so I went ahead and washed out my face. I want to apply the matte version on my left hand side and the Australian Gold Sunscreen here on my right hand side, so you can see the sunscreen side by side a lot better than if I were to just wash them on my hands. I feel like the Australian Gold Sunscreen is a better dupe for the matte version instead of the Flex version, just because the matte version is less oily. So yeah, let's see. And this is how the sunscreen looks like. And I also got the shade medium as well.
And the skies around us, turning black from perfect blue. And to my surprise, I took a look in your eyes and felt a sense of something new. Couldn't tell what I was feeling, in a state of disbelieving.
This sunscreen is exactly like the Flex version. It matches my skin tone really well. It doesn't irritate my eyes. It is awesome that it is matte because it keeps my face from becoming shiny by the end of the day. So I really like this sunscreen. It is also water resistant for 40 minutes, SPF 50. And I love the finish. It's kind of blur out my imperfections. Now the Australian Gold. It looks more orangey than the Colorescience, but when I apply on my face, it doesn't look more orangey than the Colorescience.
Sitting on my own in a hotel room on a rainy day. Sitting on my own with an old guitar, and I'm far away.
Now the texture feels a little bit more oily than the matte version, but not as oily as the Flex version. And it gives me a more matte finish than the Flex version here. So both of the sunscreens do not peel, and they do not peel even upon reapplication of the sunscreen. The Australian sunscreen blurs out my imperfections as well. The two sides of my face looks exactly the same. I love this sunscreen. It is absolutely a dupe for these Colorescience sunscreens here. Now these two sunscreens are out of stock. I would definitely try this sunscreen. It is 12 bucks from Amazon. It gives the same finish. It has SPF 50. It is water resistant for 80 minutes and the tint looks absolutely gorgeous. It comes in 3 different shades. I really like this sunscreen. If anything, the water resistant property in this sunscreen is a lot better than the Colorescience sunscreens. I will give this sunscreen a try because it is an amazing product for an amazing price. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you on next one. Bye!
Take you away, cause I ain't the same without your taste, your loving touch. We've been making our way out through suburban